What up? What up? What up? What up, everybody? It's your man, Kev Mack, and I'm back with another episode of KM Videos True Stories. In one of my most recent lives, someone asked if I could talk about the green light gangs in LA County Jail in 1995. That person wanted to know if the green light gangs was getting it cracking. My answer to that is yes and no. If you watched my last video regarding O.J. Simpson, you'll remember I was sent to 1750, better known as High Power. Well, after being taken from High Power, they took me to Gangfish Row. It was on the 3,000 floor, very dark, cold module, filthy as hell. They treated you like less than human beings, and I was housed with all the green light gangs. Now let's be clear, this is just my testimony. This is just what I saw and what I've been through. I'm no authority on Maravilla gangs or the green lights or none of that shit, but you can Google this shit if you want more information. It's not a secret society. The information's on the internet. You can find videos on YouTube. You can find books. They got all this information in there. But again, this is just what I witnessed. It was cracking. It was definitely cracking. I seen a lot of fights. Seen a lot of rat packing, a lot of screaming, yelling, laughing, heard a lot of stories. And like I said, I was in the hole with all the green light gangs. So that's where I first became familiar with some of them. And definitely where I learned a little bit of the politics of both sides up in there. 18th Streets was basically their own car. 18th Streets was so deep, it was so many of them that they operated remotely. 18s did their own thing. They didn't follow nobody's orders until after riots. If they didn't participate in a riot, which the 18s didn't at the time, talking mid-90s, they were subjected to discipline. Gangfish Row is basically the hole. We're all in single man cells. It's dark, it's cold, it's filthy as hell. And this is where I first became familiar with the Maravillas. Because I'm a Crip. I'm from the west side of South Los Angeles. I don't know nothing about East Los. Now I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert on the Maravilla gangs or Maravilla, however you want to pronounce it. Their barrios go back to the 30s, mid 30s to late 30s, and have been said to be some of the most vicious Latino gangs in all of Southern California historically. Most, if not all of their barrios are found just east of Boyle Heights. Basically all of them were housed in this Gangfish Row with me, along with 18th Street, Opal Street, Lowell Street, MS-13, 18th Street. Some of these guys was happy to tell stories about getting their ass kicked, getting socked out, stepped on, kicked in the head. They thought those was points. So if that's what you call cracking, so be it. There was this one pale Chicano on the cell to my right, which was cell 5, and he would always yell out, "Mariana!" And the shit was real annoying, but it was also fun at the same time because once he yelled out, "Mariana!" from cell 1 all the way to the end of the tier, I don't know how many cells it was, but to the end of the tier, you would hear everybody yelling out their sets. So you would hear The Rock, Arizona, El Hoyo, Garrity, all this just in sequence. You would just hear a roll call of all these Maravilla gangs, like 18 or 19 different gangs or cliques yelling out their set. Those that stood out to me was Mariana Maravilla, Lopez Maravilla, Arizona Maravilla, Mariana Maravilla, Ford Maravilla, Lopez Maravilla, Juarez Maravilla, and El Hoyo Maravilla. Now I've heard a lot of people say Mariana Maravilla was pushing a line on all the other Maravillas, but they were locked up in there with me as well. And the Marianas were known as like the disrespectfuls because they talked a lot of shit, and that's what they did in there. They talked a whole lot of shit. Where I was let off at was like cell 4, and cell 3 was a El Hoya Maravilla, and cell 5 was a Mariana Maravilla. El Hoya Maravilla was hands down the most vicious Maravilla gang in there. They were known for taking off on Sereno, and they were proud to come to the hole and talk about how they got down. There was also some good stories about them getting out of jail and having 2 or 3 carloads of homeboys pull up. And then they rushed the Southsiders outside the central jail. Unfortunately, these same dudes come back to the county jail and got to face the music once again. It's also the first time I became familiar with the Salvadorans. I didn't know nothing about Central America. I didn't know nothing about MS-13. Some of the stories were weak, some of the stories were bravado, but nevertheless, everybody came in there had a story of how they got in there. And I would just sit back and listen. I don't speak fluent Spanish, but I understand it a little bit. And they had the verde, or the verde, which means the green light, or green in Spanish, or some shit like that. But nevertheless, they was sitting there and brag about taking off on Sereno and how when they get out, they're going to get to Sereno. When I went back to the gang module, I was explaining to the homies that these dudes was not Southside friendly. Another gang that was in there was the Rascal Gang. These are Vietnamese dudes for the most part from Long Beach, and they had the green light on them from my understanding because they were putting in work on East Side Longos. But when you're dealing with Latinos and Asians, a lot of times an Asian was an agent of them. So they was rushing them on site or vice versa. But when it came time for the Asians to go back to the main line, they wasn't having it. The Asians did not want to go on the main line, so they would take off on a deputy or the first Mexican they could get their hands on just so they could do their time in the hole, go to court from the hole, get out of jail from the hole, and what have you. Also, the Asian boy Crips were in there. The Asian boys were still claiming Crip at this time. ABC, I don't know if they still claim ABC or not. But they also had problems, and Southsiders would take flight on them, 10 on 1, and shit like that, 7 on 1. And these dudes had it hard. They had a hard time in 1994, 1995. I witnessed it with my own eyes. I seen a lot of fights and a lot of incidents. Which leads me to somebody asked about the best fight I've ever seen in jail. So after this video, I'm going to give you a story about the best fight I ever seen in the county jail and the best fight I ever seen in prison. Now the Asians, they had it bad. I felt bad for the Asians. They would get taken off on a site. Didn't matter their affiliation. It was a matter of if they chose to roll with the South Side or other or the Crips, it was on. So a lot of the older Asians, of course, they went other, so they fell up under the South Side. They didn't want no problems. A lot of the younger dudes, they were riders. They may have only weighed 90 or 110 pounds, but they was riders. They had heart, and they had no shame in representing Crip or TRG or whatever it was they claimed. And they faced the consequences. 10 out of 10 times they got rolled up, whether it was willingly or whether they were going to the hole. But best believe it was going down. They had heart. They had heart because you go up in a Mazda, it might be like 180 people, 180 inmates or something like that, and only one Asian, dog. Only one Asian. So they had to have heart to even go up in there to begin with, especially, like I said, if they claim Crip or anything else, claim their hood and oppose the 13, it was on, period. And so these are the type of guys I was housed with in the hole, in Wayside, as well as in the county jail. I spent a lot of time in the hole just for some bullshit. It was always just some bullshit, some minor shit or some misunderstanding that landed me in a hole. And I was always with the anti-surrender, anti-13, during this small period that I'm talking about, 94 and 95. So that's it for this edition of KM Videos True Stories. I got a couple more stories coming up for you guys. Hopefully you like this new format. Hopefully you like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment so I know if you guys like this new format or not, so I can continue to give you guys stories, or I could just abandon this altogether. That's my story on the Maravillas. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you check back for more stories. I'm out of here. Peace. Wow.